everyone, this is Mindy Egan for Lawn Fawn, and in today's video, we are going to create this outdoor scene by doing some die cutting, ink blending, and stenciling. So first off, we're going to start with our die cut pieces. Now I have these die cut from Sunflower Cardstock, and it is the beehive from the Build-A-Bee die set. I did the backer piece and the front piece both out of the Sunflower Cardstock, and I'm going to give these dimension by ink blending the edges. So I'm starting with the front piece of the beehive, ink blending on some number 2 pencil, going around all of the edges, and then also coming in to the opening, adding some ink blending to that. Now I wanted to step up that ink blending just a little bit. So I'm going to bring in Crunchy Leaf, just a nice light brown. I'm not going super heavy on that, just to kind of build up the contrast of those edges. This is going to go over the top of that backer piece. And while I could have cut that backer piece from maybe like a dark brown or even a dark gray cardstock, I decided to do some ink blending on this as well. So I used the front piece as a guide on where the opening is going to be, added some ink blending to that backer piece, and what I want to do is have it be lighter in the center of that opening and then darker around the edges. So it doesn't matter what the rest of that backer piece looks like because it's going to get covered up. Next, I'm going to take some thin foam squares, add them to the back of my front piece, remove the backing, and then add that over the top of our backer of our beehive, just to give that a little bit more dimension. And then I'll move on to working on my bunny. So I will be using the Build-A-Bunny die set and the Build-A-Critter bug costume. So I'm going to dress my bunny up as the bee. I started with kraft cardstock for my bunny, and I'm going to ink blend the edges using some walnut ink. You could do a lighter color of cardstock if you wanted a lighter bunny, and I will actually show an example of that a little later on because I did have one pre-done that I had played around with. Now, once I have all my ink blending done for the body and also the head for my bunny, I can start assembling this. So for the ears, I used Ballet Slippers cardstock. We have our piece for the eyes, so you can see how they fit perfectly on the back of the head. And then the nose, I also did Ballet Slippers as well. So I start working from the top down essentially when it comes to my critter. I'm going to go ahead and add the little headband that's going to have the antennas. That's out of black licorice cardstock. And then the 2 little circle pieces I did out of sunflower cardstock. So the body for the bunny out of the Build-A-Bunny set, you don't actually have to die cut because we're using the body from the Build-A-Critter bug costume. I did the stripes out of sunflower, the backer piece for that out of black licorice, and then we have these cute little feet. So our bunny is sitting down with his feet sticking out. That is the kraft cardstock once again, and the ballet slippers for the pink of the feet. Then I have his arms. Now you could have these arms extended if you wanted the bunny to be holding something, but mine's just going to be sitting there cute as a little bee. So I'm just attaching those right behind the body. And then we have the wings, which I did out of, I think this was the mist cardstock. So it's going to be a light blue, but the wings would also look super cute die cut out of vellum. I did do a couple little flowers. I like to have these as extra just in case I decide to use them on my project. Then the last finishing pieces are the cheeks, and I also added a cute little heart die cut out of tomato cardstock. Now I'm going to work on the background for my scene, and I really wanted to use this cute little Be Happy stencil, but I wanted it to be more of just subtle interest in the background versus a focal point. So I'm using a sticky mat that is very well loved and stained. I'm going to have this go in a landscape orientation. My sticky mat is holding my lavender or fresh lavender cardstock down. Sorry, holding my lavender cardstock down, and I'm ink blending the first layer of the stencil with fresh lavender ink, but I'm going very, very light-handed. Now I do have these corner markers. They come with, or you can get them separately for the stamp wheel. I like to use them for placement of my stencils, so I never have to worry about if I'm lining it up correctly or not. The guides are there to help me. And each layer of the stencil, I will go just a little bit heavier handed than the previous layer. So I'm still using fresh lavender, which is a light purple from Lawn Fawn. The layer with the stripes, which I think is the 3rd layer, I do go just a little bit more heavier handed because I need those stripes to pop out a little bit more. And then the last layer here that we're going to be adding, which is these super adorable little hearts, again, is fresh lavender. I switched to a smaller blending brush to really get into that small area. And then I'm going to kind of just really glaze over the top of those hearts using grape jelly. So I don't want to go too heavy handed. I don't want that to stick out like a sore thumb. I just wanted them to stand out a touch more. I'll bring that panel over to my splat box and I'm going to add splatters of white ink that I have mixed with just a drop of water. In trying to decide what I wanted to use for a scene for this card, I came across a background that I had previously created. It's an extra one from the Big Blossom backdrop. This is the landscape version. And I do have a video showing exactly how I created that background. Since it was extra, I thought I would bring it into my scene. And that's actually what made me to decide to use the purples for the very background with the Be Happy stencil. It works out perfectly because the flower on the right and the left-hand side kind of swoop in a little bit, and then my beehive and my bunny are going to cover up the centerpiece. So I'm going to go ahead and get a sentiment stamped because usually that's the part I forget about. I get so excited to create the scene. I am using a sentiment from the Jam and Honey Sentiments stamp set. I prepped the black cardstock in anti-static powder, stamped it in the Yeti pigment ink, sprinkled on my white embossing powder, and then heat set that. And you can see where there is some stamped on the other side. It's because I had to start over. I forgot to add the word you at the end because it's a build a sentiment set. Then after that has cooled, I'm going to die cut it out with the Everyday Sentiments banner stamp set. Once I run it through the first time, I can adjust that die so that I have a banner on each end. Then I can work on the assembly. And probably the tedious part of this whole card project is adding foam tape behind that landscape panel. And I'm adhering it upside down because I figure it's always easier to trim off the bottom of my card front if I'm a little off, because I did already add that panel to a top folding card base. So I went ahead, added my landscape with the big blossoms using foam tape. So it's popped up to separate it from the background. I added my bunny to the beehive, and then I put a little bit of the foam strips wherever it's going to hang off or where it's not going to overlap the flowers. And then the rest of the pieces, I will add the liquid glue to, and I'm going to pop up my sentiment using some black foam squares. I'm bringing in one of the flowers that I had created. So I have that kind of nice pop of white there over on my beehive. I'm going to come in and add a bunch of the white gel pen accents. I think that helps kind of separate everything from each other so it doesn't look like it's all blended together. And then my last finishing thing, well, actually, there's two more things I want to do. One thing here is adding eyelashes to my bunny. And this is a tip I picked up from Nicole Spohr. I thought it was the cutest thing. I used to do this years ago on paper piecings. Totally forgot about that. So that was super cute to add eyelashes to our bunny. And I'm going to add some stickles to my heart and the center of my flower. I'll add glossy accents to the nose. And now my finishing touch is going to be adding the clay heart pieces. It's a mix of red, pink, and white. I picked out the white ones and added them using my pokey tool and liquid glue kind of around the sentiment up there. So while it's really fun to create this scene, I also think all of those small finishing touches really help bring the card together. And that bunny dressed up in a bee costume is seriously the sweetest thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this card project and get inspiration from it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again in the next video.